It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside a while and just smile. Just taking some clean, fresh air, boy. Ain't no sense in staying inside. If the weather's fine and you got the time, it's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. Either way, it's a beautiful morning. Each bird keeps singing his own song. So long. And I've got to be on my way now. Ain't no fun just hanging around. I've got to cover ground you couldn't keep me down. It just ain't no good if the sun shines and you're still inside. Shouldn't hide, still inside. Shouldn't hide, still inside. Shouldn't hide. Oh, oh, there will be children with robins and flowers. Sunshine caresses each new waking hour. Seems to me that people keep seeing more and more each day. Gotta say, either way, it's okay. Wednesday, Thursday, it's okay. Monday, Wednesday, it's a beautiful morning. It's a beautiful morning.
Well, good morning, Sonder family. It is a beautiful morning, and we have the opportunity to do a little time traveling this evening when we put our clocks ahead by an hour. I'm trying to embrace it and be positive because this is the time change that I really, really don't like. So I'm trying to be excited. We do get to get an extra hour of daylight after this time change, this spring forward. So yeah, we get to time travel today. That's going to be my hot take on that. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy, and I am coming to you from the Dallas, Texas area. I live in a community called Garland, and I get to be your facilitator this morning. And joining me on the call is the fabulous Maya Martin Glenn, and she's coming to us from Colorado. She's going to be hanging out in that chat. She's my co-pilot today. And so if you have any questions along the way as we go along, drop them in that chat, and one of us will do our best to point you in the right direction. And I'm trying to kind of watch the chat as I talk. Yes, Tina said the kids at school, they're weirded out because next week is, that time change thing. We are lucky. We actually entered spring break weekend. This is the first weekend of spring break. I've got grandbabies tonight. We're kicking off their spring break with a grand sleepover. Is there anybody who's joining us for their very first social? Just drop a me in that chat. We don't go on video. Everything is muted, so it's it's very cozy to be in that chat. Well, Chandra says she's here first, and I'm going to remind everybody, set your chat to host to everyone. If you see host and panelists, not everyone can see it. And we've got Amanda joining us, so we have a couple of newbies with us. We love this community. This is our accountability piece of making sure we're working these journals to support our lives so that our lives can be the best that they can be. It's like I always say, it's like having that friend at the front door waiting to go walking. If somebody's waiting on me, I'm gonna do it, right? So we're always here. We're glad to welcome you. I wasn't sure if we'd have like a ginormous crowd this morning because folks are thinking about Sunday morning's going to hit kind of early tomorrow. So, anyhow, so yeah, we've talked about that Zoom chat. I've given you that time travel reminder. Let's dig in. Here are our community guidelines. We always like to share this with you when we gather together at our socials. You can also find this in those terms and conditions when you signed on to Sonder Club in the app. But it really is about creating a safe space with one another, supporting one another, being kind. Um, just really focusing on the work that we're going to do for our journal and taking good care of ourselves. That's the bottom line. And you're here, and so that's step one in taking care of yourselves. You're wanting to set yourself up for a great week 11. Our time together this morning, we will start with our momentum mind map. We will be working on the second week of March. So for our new friends, the mind map is just a deep dig into the monthly theme, and we do that every month at these weekly setups. So it's just like a bonus prompt for being there. And then we're going to do our thorn reflection based on our past week, and then we're going to set up our weekly pages. And let me just tell you, there's going to be lots of examples. If you are for our new friends, grab a screenshot if you see something. This is not supposed to be an overwhelming time. This is supposed to be a time for you to examine this tool and figure out how to set it up to best work in your life. And I've got lots of great examples from our fellow Silk and Sonder family. So, of course, momentum, that movement forward. Now, for me, when I hear momentum, I was not a big science girl. And so for me, it feels like it's a physics term about, movement fast and furious. And I'm exploring what momentum means, maybe at a slower pace in my life this month. And I wanted to I'm pulling this from Meha's letter, this quote. She's urging us to notice the areas in our life where we feel stagnant. And we've all got them, right? We've all got things when we sit there and maybe think of the things that we should do. And we always like to say, quit shoulding yourself. But think about, is there anything holding you back from progressing forward? And then why? What's behind that? How do you switch up that narrative and take that first baby step? How maybe a new routine like your journal, maybe this step right here, being together and using your journal is something you're using for momentum. How can that new routine accelerate you a little faster with a little more intention? And I love this because it's very supportive of our mind map work that we're going to do this month. So, as I mentioned, here's our mind map, 4 different weekends over March. And these are the first 2 weeks worth of questions. So if you were not able to join us last week, again, grab a screenshot, take a photo of that question number 1. Last week, we looked at where we felt stuck or maybe lacking in development. And then we compared that. It was kind of an exercise in duality, like where do we feel stuck, but also what are we proud of? Where have we progressed and moved forward? So that was week 1. Week 2, we're going to now take a specific look at those specific obstacles that kind of hinder our forward movement. And then really examine ourselves. What are some personal tendencies or external factors that may have slowed our development in those specific areas? Now, I love thinking about week 1 when I'm answering my week 2 question. I had a couple of these little quotes that I thought were very supportive of what we're digging into this week. You do your best and you move forward. The key is to see forward momentum and then not beat yourself up about how it could have been. We're really good at that, right? And so we want to embrace any forward movement is better than no forward movement. And then I love the little cartoon over there on the right. What are you throwing away? Oh, just some old ideas and beliefs that were taking up too much space. So what is what is that for you? What are those things holding you back? So there are two questions for our first 2 weeks of the mind map, and then my page is there. If you've not done a mind map before, I've got some tips of where you could set this up. This month, I'm actually on the very last page of the journal. I got that hint from facilitator Bailey because she says, boom, it's right there on the last page. It's easy to open up to and find. And so when I started thinking about my specific obstacles, one of the things that I felt stuck with that I started looking at last week was just my overall health attitude and mindset, the movement, the good nutrition, the good rest. And I'm just not consistent. And so I've kind of springboarding off of those ideas to answer my week too. You can do it in any direction you want to go, but that's kind of what I did. I looked at that thing that I'm trying to improve upon. And when I start looking at the specific things, I'm an early retiree, and we've kind of almost changed some roles in our marriage, and my husband's been doing a lot of the cooking, and I realize he's doing a lot of cooking and we're not meal prepping and planning together, and I've just kind of been eating what he cooks, and he doesn't necessarily cook the way I cooked, and he doesn't want to eat the foods that I want to eat or should eat. So I've just been kind of, not being mindful with my choices, or like, okay, if you're going to do this, I'm going to do this to kind of counter and balance. So that's one of those obstacles. I love that he's cooking. And then also, I have a lack of these rigid rhythms and routines because I am an early retiree. And that's one of the reasons Silk and Sonder is, has been so helpful for me, is that it's given me a way to rebuild some routines. I retired right before COVID. So, man, everybody's routines are out the window, and it's been hard to get that back. But it means that I just don't plan. When I was working and busy, and I had this window to exercise, or I had to plan my lunch to carry to work. And so there were these built-in things that happened that helped me do a better job of taking care of me. I also had accountability partners, and I didn't realize until Maya and I were going over that this morning. That's another thing, that obstacle is like, I'm in a newer community. I moved, and I don't have those people that are waiting on me, just like we're here together, right? I don't have that. And so, that really helped me realize I'm squandering minutes. I think, oh, I'll do it later, and then I don't do it later. So, I too readily embrace the idea of I'll do it tomorrow. So I think our mind map this month can really springboard off of that week one reflection. We've got a couple more questions coming down the pipe, and I think that, sort of framing that out through how you answered question one is going to be a neat way to take a look at the mind map. And oh yes, Tina, thank you for the mind map setup. If you haven't set up, that's 9 little rows for each one of those squares. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to put on some music as you do your reflection. If you didn't catch last week, again, grab both of those questions. It might take a little bit longer than just our little 4-minute time period here. Give yourself that time to think about it and dig into it. And I'll be back to check on you in just a few minutes. Great work, everybody. This one's a little tricky. Now we're not looking for like what are we going to do? How are we going to change it? Remember, I kind of said, we've got the month to work on this. Today it was all about like taking a look at what is standing in our way. And you were so generous in sharing as you were comfortable in the chat. And I saw things like, that idea of perfectionism just kind of is that big obstacle for me. Or maybe there are financial situations, right? You want to move forward, but as I read, there's not a money tree planted in the yard. And so it's putting this pause on dreams and desires. Maybe grief is just sitting with you and it's just maybe overstaying its visit a little bit, and you're working on ways to manage that. Working from home and those changes of routines. So we all have things that we're working on. We are works in progress. So as we travel through the rest of the month with momentum, just be open to what you discover about yourself, but also be gentle with yourself. So that was some good digging in. This one might bounce around and then you'll be like, oh, and this. Oh, and this. So, jot those things down so that we can continue to work on it and figure out what we can do. And that is to come. So again, great work. Thank you for sharing. We're going to now turn to page 36, which is our rosebud thorn check in. We like to do this every week, kind of take a look at how last week served us, what we want to bring forward, what we want to celebrate, what we want to just leave behind. Those thorns are those things that are just uncomfortable, things that are challenging, stressful. Sometimes they're temporary, and then sometimes they are ongoing, like health issues or financial issues. And so it's important to acknowledge those things that are not so great, write it down, put some power behind your writing. Mine is not a big thorn, but it's a little uncomfortable for me. I took my sewing machine into the shop, and I was because it hasn't been working, and I love to sew and quilt, and anyway, and he couldn't do anything with it. So I'm lucky that I live in a big metroplex area. Got to find somewhere else to take my sewing machine, but that was my thorn. I thought I was bringing it home to get back to the things that find my flow state, and didn't happen. My bud, what am I looking forward to? What gives you motivation, hope, plans for the future? And mine is next weekend, I'm taking my oldest grandson, just him. We have a cabin, we call it the Good Place, and it's just going to be a grand date with that first grandbaby, and we're real excited to hang out with just him. The dynamics, if you know how it is, if you've got more than one kid gathered in any space, the dynamics change when you get them one-on-one, right? So we're real excited about that. And then my rose, I had shared last week, I had just had a mammogram. I had a whole heck of a lot of junk with it a year ago, so I was really dreading this one, and I got news that it was clean. So big rose, dozen roses. I was so happy for that. So let me put on some music, and feel free to share your roses so we can celebrate those roses with you, and your thorns or your buds get excited with you. And then we will all just hold space with one another for those thorns. And I'll be back in to check with you in just a moment. There is so much power in putting these reflections down on paper, owning those things that are tough and owning those things that brought you joy. So thank you for working through this. And then also thank you for the support that I see among each of you. I get tickled when I think it's Monica said the mortgage company has messed everything up. And then somebody else said, I'm so angry for you. And yeah, because it's like, don't mess with our people, right? We've got each other. So I do love that. But I hate those thorns. But I'm so glad we're here for one another. So now let's take a look at our new week, pages 40 and 41. We're going to set those up. And this is not an exhaustive list. You see this when we check in together. So if you're brand new, you might want to grab a screenshot of this. These are just some ideas to get you going on to like, oh, maybe I do need to put a space in my planner for my outfit tracking, or maybe I do need to have a little garden tracker now that it's spring. And so this is just that idea to sit with all these different ideas from Sonder family and maybe think about, yeah, I want to use a symptom tracker. Now, where am I going to put it? So I always like to throw this slide in there. We're always going to start with how do we want to feel this upcoming week? And I really, every planning session that we do together, depending on if it's Saturday or Sunday or Monday morning, kind of has its own vibe. And I will tell you that when I sit on Saturday and have this planned out, I feel like I've made a better space for knowing what I can say yes to and no to in the upcoming week. Like this, or the Saturday planning, I don't know. I just feel like a little more prepared. So think about how you want to feel next week and just drop that in the chat, if you will. And let me just tell you, you don't have to change this up from week to week. So I am trying to gain momentum working on my health things. And so last week my word was consistent. This week my word is consistent so that I could stay consistent with those habits I'm trying to do. So don't feel like you've got to reinvent the wheel. If last week's word is what guided you through the week, use it. So progress, not perfection. Nathania says she needs to be sane this week. Rested, unafraid, on the ball. Yeah, that is your old one, Brenda. I love the little on the ball. On the little how you want to feel authentically me, being true to yourself. There are so many ways to set this up. If you have a beautiful sticker and you just want to slap a sticker there because it evokes that feeling that you want to have, several words, maybe there was an affirmation that really spoke to you last week and you plug that affirmation in that space to remind you of how you want to feel. I'm seeing steady, consistently consistent. Yes, Sherry. Efficient. Equipoised. Yes, I actually belong to an organization and we say equipoise in the little creed that we do. That is a good word. Productive, the same mantra all month by wanting to feel grounded and joyful. Thank you for dropping that in there, Georgie. No right or wrong way to do this, right? You take what you need. And so now we're going to take a look because we know how we want to feel. How do we get there? And we're going to take a look at those major goals that we have. Tony Robbins, Tony Robbins is all about momentum, right? Probably the king of Western momentum. The most important thing you can do is to achieve your goals is to make sure as soon as you set them, you immediately begin to create momentum. So we're going to set those goals for our great week. Now, this is just again, you can grab a screenshot, some ideas of how to set up these weekly major 3 goals. They may be 4 goals. They may be 1 goal. You take what you need. You can take a look at last week's goals. Did those happen? Do they need to come forward? Lots of our Sonder family likes to do 3 categories and then plug a goal in for each one of those. Some folks like to tie them directly into the to-do list. So we're going to take a look at our goals and our to-dos. I'll go through all of these slides And then I'll put on music while you work on these spaces. If you did a word of the year or you made a vision board, go check in with that. See how things are going. So again, asking ourselves, how will my goals support the way I want to feel? What is your why? Like, what is your why for the week? So here are some great examples from you. You can see that there are just different categories. The one in the middle, a frog, a fresh, and a fun. And so frog was the thing that they didn't want to do, but they're going to do it anyway. The fresh, she's got keep cleaning up the bedroom. So kind of refreshing her environment. Fun, start planning for more family vacations. So it's such a great way to set this up. And then learn, leap, and let go for the one on the right. Love those ideas of the categories. And then you can see how this person in the red ink put their goal. I love this. One thing I must do, two things I want to do, and three things I am proud of. And then that's kind of a little journal reflection. That was a brand new one that I saw in Sonder Club this week, and I really wanted to share that with you. The word that you chose, look at the one on the right. See how they've valued is their word for the week, and then they're saying for self, I want to value myself. Home, I want to value my home space by. So really tying in those words. Love that. And then here we go. Here is some goal set. And then instead of doing a to-do list, they've made weekly intentions that support those goals. The one below that, goals are there's the focus and organization, and there's those three things. And then they made a bingo board to support those three items. And then I've thrown this one in, the one that's over there on the right, the serene. I love the everyday check-in that they've done for each one of those goals. I think that's a great idea. You can also repurpose this space, and you don't have to have three goals. So maybe you do some favorite quotes or some shows you want to watch, maybe ways to embrace this season, songs of the week. You can create a bingo board here. And so I was showing you, I'm working on those morning and evening routines. So actually in my weekly 3, I put this little good morning checklist so that I am kind of, getting my day started in the right direction. And so that's because it's really kind of like one goal, and here are all the things that are associated with that one goal. And then love this. Commitment is the igniter of momentum. Just a great graphic. You can just slap that on there. So now let's take a look at those to-dos, and then I'll go back through all of these while we work on it. So this to-do space is great. There's different ways to set it up. You can divide this into categories as you see. Someone did a to-do list with stickers. We always like to throw this Eisenhower matrix in here. If you've got this long to-do list, take those items and plug it in to the Eisenhower matrix. And it helps you figure out what's important and urgent, and it helps you to know what to delete or even delay. And we had a discussion last week about deleting or about delegating. If you are kind of by yourself, and somebody said, I have no one to delegate to. And so I did want to kind of propose some ideas that maybe delegation looks like you do the online grocery shopping instead of taking your space, your time and doing that grocery shopping, and really be intentional about thinking that is assigning that task to someone else. Maybe it's picking up dinner that someone else prepared for you. So that's a really great way to look at delegation if you are in a single person household. So just that kind of pro tip there. And then I am normally a big to-do list. I leave my to-do space blank. My daily to-dos go in my weekly setup, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I celebrate the things I do. And I call it the to-do list. And lots of folks like to put bingos here. Maybe you need to focus on what you want to be, how you want to be this week. Or maybe it's a to-don't list. What are some things you're trying to take away from your plate that are not no longer serving you. Let me put on a little music and we're going to work on setting those goals or setting that space up to work for you. And then also tying in our weekly to-dos. Share in the chat how you use this space and what has worked for you and maybe what hasn't worked for you that will inspire our fellow Silk and Sonder members. And I'll be back to check in with you in a minute. All right, the guys are here to do my yard. So if you hear engines blowing, I apologize. I love what you guys shared. Some of you are just like, I'm not changing anything up. I'm keeping the same three things because I want them to get solidified. I really like the different category framework. I think that works beautifully. It really helps give you that framework to plug in things that are going to serve you for this week. So good job. Nathania said, that she always likes to use the to-do list as her to-do list, but she's got too much this week. So she needs to have those to-dos front and center. So she's changing some things up, going to actually use the to-do list as a to-do list and then put the to-dos somewhere else. So again, that's what's so beautiful about this wonderful tool is that we take what we need and make it work for us. So our habit and activity tracker, this one, I know we've got a couple of new folks. You've got that big one at the front end of your journal. We like to think about that habit wheel as the things that we want to do on most days of the month. But this one in the weekly can be set up to fit the particular needs of that week. And so you may only track something twice, or you may want to use this one as your work tracker. You can, it's nice to have that second. A lot of times my habit tracker in the week will say, go check monthly tracker so that I don't forget to turn to that page. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So those habits are so important. Here are some great examples from our Sonder family. I love this one in the top left. Everything on the weekly tracker for this person points back to one of the other monthly trackers in the journal. So the mood tracker, the habit tracker, sleep, love that. Talk about connecting those things together. You don't have to fill out all of the spaces here. Maybe you only choose 3 things to track, like the one you see there in the middle on the left. You also don't have to track every day. If you're traveling, give yourself a break. You can see the one on the upper right, they've just covered up some days because they're not going to track. And then, of course, I love the idea of circling the days that things need to happen. I take a medication every 3rd day. It's tricky to track. So I just literally circle that space in this tracker, and it helps me remember, yes, I do. It is Wednesday. I do need to take it because it's going to shift every week going over. You can track it by the number of times. You can set goals, or you can just do what the person in the bottom left did and just assign a color and track it when it happens. And then it's kind of fun to gamify it by maybe doing a countdown. So something 5 times, something 4 times, something 3 times, something 2 times. You can see the person on the bottom right did that and then actually circled the days that those things are going to happen. I have some fun feel-good habits from our Silk and Sonder Instagram page. So I'll go back and forth between these. I'm going to give you just a minute to set this up, and I'll be back to check in with you in just a moment. All righty. So we've got our habits and activities set for next week. And yes, Monica said, read old journal entries. That's from this list that you see. I've noticed in the daily rituals date previously had been so good going back to the journal and looking at what I wrote last year. It was just crazy to see where I was a year ago today and seeing that growth and celebrating how far you've come. I always say you've survived every hard day that life's given you, and you're here now. So, if you want more content like this, be sure that you're following Silk and Sonder on Instagram. It is gold. It's got great stuff. So, now that we've set up this kind of page one, as facilitator Katie says, the side A of the record, let's take a look at side B. And I'm just going to go over this whole side with you and give you lots of different ideas because I know lots of what we're going to share now can be put in any of these spaces based on, how much space you want to give them. So, again, here's another list of ways to repurpose. Here's our meal tracker, meal planner space. We love this space because of those good, the little rectangles there are just, I always like to say they're juicy. They've got lots of space. You can do things like a reflection. I love the this week I read, reached out to, created, completed, enjoyed. So that very intentionally driven action list. This was something that I found a couple weeks ago. Somebody put when life starts to feel crummy, stop. And then it's shower, think positively, open up, prioritize meditation. So some things that we might be doing, but to have it like looking at you, right? That good reminder. So fun ways. Here's a bunch of different ways to repurpose that meal planner space, quotes, word of the day, affirmations, a health tracker, um, inhale confidence, exhale doubt, the little reflections each day that you answer on a day by day basis. Somebody actually repurposed this and called it the meal plan for their soul. And so isn't that beautiful? So just doing that, deep digging into who you are. Here's that mind body health plan. This is the space that gets repurposed a lot in my journal. Sometimes it's about eating. Sometimes it's about taking care of my mental health and maybe doing a gratitude dig, something like that. Sometimes it's, just a chore list. Sometimes it's exercise. So this one I use in all different kinds of ways. But here's some great examples from our Sonder family. I love this idea of unplugging for 1 hour, and then here are the steps I'm going to take. To really make sure that you are leaning into that sacred space that you've created for yourself. Again, just lots of different ways to use these spaces. I'm going to go through all of these as you work on them. Maybe you'll look at making a list of 7 positive things this week, or a reflection on how you're filling your cup. That's so important. We fill everybody else's and we forget to refill ours. Perhaps you do a happiness challenge or a week of gratitude reflections, especially because this month we don't have that gratitude tracker. We have the highlights of our day, which is very similar, but maybe you want to embrace gratitude in a little more depth. And so there are some prompts for doing so if you want to do that. Again, weekly intentions. This is all those alliteration days. I think that's a very fun way to set any of these spaces up, to kind of, frame out that day of the week. Here are a bunch of ways that you can set up your alliteration days if you want to celebrate that, if you want to have a talent Tuesday and work on a hobby that you love. And then there are some fun things that are coming up. This is actually a pretty fun week, minus the daylight savings time. We have Johnny Appleseed Day, and napping day is on Monday because we're all recovering from losing that hour. National Plant a Flower Day. Pie Day is this week, y'all. 3/14. I love Pie Day. A shout out to Kansas, our people from Kansas that might be here because it's Kansas Day on the 15th. So lots of stuff coming up this week that you might want to embrace in one of these spaces. And then we have that shopping list. And again, another list of ways to repurpose, but I always like to see the graphics, the visuals. There is my good night list. I told you I was working on my good morning list with a little midday check-in, and here's my good night list. Again, trying to gain momentum in taking better care of me. Bingos, all different kinds of bingos. And I always love this little washi scrap. It's like where the washi scraps go to die. I just think that's kind of a fun way to use that space. If you're a washi tape person, daily steps, doodles, prayer lists, self compliments, dinner plans, chores. I love ideas for mini breaks at work. So just lots of ways to set that up. And then most importantly, what are you loving right now, this very moment, this morning, Saturday? What is, speaking to you on Saturday, March the 9th? Write that in. Let me stop talking. I'm going to put on some music and let you finish out these pages. I'll go back and forth between all these slides and I'll check in with you in just a few minutes. It's going to be a great week, our time traveling week. It's going to be wonderful. You were here, you got yourself set up. We are ready to embrace week 11 of 2024. If you can believe 11, right? I'm not sure how we've gotten into the 11th week of this brand new year. At the end of the week, I'd like you to maybe go right somewhere Thursday, Friday. Turn to that page 39 toward the end of the week and do kind of that mid-month check-in with yourself. Take a look at where you are. Answer these questions. I'm loving, I'm feeling, I'm enjoying. And then while you're doing that, go look at your March intentions and that monthly habit tracker. And how are things going? And if you are seeing, like maybe on that tracker, I haven't done this one time, give yourself permission to put something else there. Change it up to finish the month of March strong. It's okay to maybe something you put down and happening, that's part of your story. Find something else that you need to maybe embrace as you're thinking about momentum in your life and getting rid of obstacles. So always give yourself permission to adjust as we go along. Maybe the first intention you came to with your finances this month, something's happened and you need to reframe that. So go do a self check and see where you are and then adjust as needed. We want you to share your planning on Sonder Club. We'd love to see your pages. Also, we have a very neat exclusive coming up this week on March 13th. If you wanted to ever know a little bit more about the Enneagram exploration, Meha is going to do a workshop with Beth Cooper, who is a Enneagram guru. Be sure to sign up for that exclusive. Here are those QR codes that are super important for you. The refer a friend, upgrade to your annual subscription, and then the social survey. And remember, you also get follow-up emails to this. Be sure you fill out those surveys. I know if you come to a lot of socials, you might not, but we want that feedback. Let folks know at headquarters the times that work for you, what you want to see, what ideas you have that you might want to explore deeper into your journal. And I'm going to just shout out, somebody said they were looking back at last year's journal, and Maya had the suggestion that, maybe we do a social where we pull out old journals and do some reflections based on what we read about our former selves. How brilliant would that be? So we need that kind of feedback, helps inspire the programming that Silk and Sonder brings to you. Maya sharing, of course, all the stuff in the chat. If you're brand new, these are all recorded and you can go get, it's nearly 700 socials now on our YouTube channel. So, which is crazy. That's a lot of socials. So, anyway, we want to hear from you. A throwback Thursday social. I love it. Brenda's already come up with that. So let's just, you finish the week strong. I wish you a great week as we time travel, embrace all the fun things, Mario Day and St. Patrick's Day and Pi Day. And I'll see you next time, Sonder family. Maya and I loved spending Saturday morning with you. Make it a great week.
It's a little after 12. Make breakfast for myself. Leave the work for someone else.